Hello and welcome back to Disappointing Turtle. I'm Creed, and for the very last time I will be saying that this video is sponsored by the Amazon App Store UK. Don't worry though, the deal's not going anywhere. It will be available until the 31st of March. The links are all down in the description, and I will also keep all of my videos up with reference to it. So don't worry, you're all going to be able to get that, all of you that are interested. And what else? Yes, I hope that you all had a really lovely Christmas with your families. I know it's a little bit of an odd one this year, but I really hope that none of you had to spend it on your own, because that's just absolutely dreadful. But let's just hope that the new year brings so much better stuff, and let's just hope that all of us get out of this on the other side in one piece. Only a few days to go now, so fingers crossed nothing else goes tits up. Right, guys, so obviously my last video I did building up your main march, and I did say that I would go over guards, so I am going to try and do that as best as I can for all of you today. It's taken me a really long time to understand guards. And I think probably it has for a lot of you guys too. It certainly didn't all tally up in the beginning. I think that's where I was struggling with it personally. There was lots of things like the airship, war books and stuff like that. Like, it just didn't seem to fit together like it did before. Some things just seemed irrelevant, like infantry and artillery, for example. And the war books kind of became irrelevant for a couple of months as well. So yeah, I would like to have a little look and just kind of go over that with you. As I did before, I'm just going to start very basic, and I'm just going to say that if you are starting a new account, one of the first things that you will open up is your guards. Within that, essentially what you want to do is whatever the first two guards are that you get, that is the march that you want to start building on, and they're also the guards that you're going to start wanting to build up to start off with. Now, at the beginning you only get blue and green guards. You may get a couple of purples if you're very lucky, but initially probably I think you get Elena, and then you get a mixture of these ones. So I've still got two guards to get, but we will talk about those in a little while. But yeah, don't worry about building up these greens and these blues, because really they use very small amounts of XP, and you will realise that when you come on to hitting the other ones, and the drops on them are very regular. So if you have these start up, because that's the progression of the game, you don't ignore those guards, because you do need them to be start up even in those sort of very early stages. But you need to understand what the guards do and what order to put them in. So that is what I'm going to try and explain, or at least how I think it should be done anyway. I know that this is still a very controversial topic. I have steered clear of it up until now, for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons being that I have been doing non-stop testing pretty much since this guard system changed. And the other reason is that I really didn't want to give you guys information that I wasn't necessarily sure on. So I really hope that you guys can have a little look into this yourselves as well. Maybe do a little bit of your own testing. Let me know what you think down in the comment section at the end of the video, so that I've got things to compare my findings to, etc. And yeah, okay, so let's do this. So first of all, what we want to do is basically understand what the guards do, what their purpose is. I'm sure if you've been playing for a long time, you will know exactly what that is. For people that haven't, basically these guards are there to boost your troop stats, and to also add extra skills, effects and abilities on top of those troop stats. So you really want to make sure that you're using the right guards in the right order. I am going to explain to you how to ascertain what the right order is, and I'm going to show you what my setup is. You can have a go with yourself with my guards. Or you can have a go with your own, because I'm sure that everybody has their own little way of doing stuff. That is one of the beauties of this game, is that no two accounts are the same as the next, even if you're using the same things. So I am just going to start by... I've got a load of stuff written down because there's just so much information and I don't want to forget anything. But we're going to start by looking at distance guards, okay? And so essentially, right, I'm just going to come onto here and this will be a good way of explaining. Formation setting, yes sir, please sir. So you have a left and a right guard, and there is a reason for that, and it is a really, really important reason. The reason is that basically with all of the guards, no matter what colour they are, but specifically the S cards and the A cards, you have a guard that will emit some sort of effect, and then you will have another guard that will either act off of the effect of the first guard, or it will be a critical hit. So the way that you want to be setting up your guards for your marches is that you basically have the debuffer first, which is, so for example, I've got Morpin here to show you. She emits bleeding effect. I'll show you back in the actual guards in a moment. And then I have got Arabar. So you've got your debuffer and then your heavy hitter. So the debuffer is debuffing your opponent's guards, which makes way for your heavy hitter to do more damage and to also actively proc their skills more than what they would do otherwise. So there's certain guards that play off of each other. So I'm gonna kind of tell you the basics, but really you will need to go through each individual guard and write down somewhere what their abilities do and which ones proc off of each other and what order you think that they should be in. So as I said, I've got Morpin and Arabar, so she emits the a bleeding effect. Let's go and have a little look in here actually, so I can actually show you. Right, Morpin. I will have to click a lot of buttons because I can never remember what order they're in. Okay, here. So when triggered, there's a 50% chance of causing a bleeding effect on enemy troops, dealing continuous damage lasting up to 2 rounds. Then if we find the lovely Arabar, I'm going to go all the way through these now, and he's going to be not there. He'll be back the other way, yeah. I was going the wrong way round, bloody typical. Right, and then we have a look through Arabar's. Right, and he is a critical hitter. So basically, you want Morpin to do majority of the damage and to inflict her bleeding effects by her proccing. And then for Arabar to come along and finish them off with his extra damage, procs, and critical hits. Okay. And the other two that this works for as well is, because I'm going to go through, so this is like distance. So you've got Lucian. Where is he? Yeah, so when triggered, removes the buff effects of enemy guards. So when I'm trying to think of a way to explain it. Say you hit a castle, their wall guard procs and puts uses its skill, against your troops. Lucian then hits, and he removes those buffs and removes those effects. Okay? Then what you would have is like Caribou or Arabar. So let's go down here. I don't have Santa opened up on this account. It's the only account I don't. I really thought I would get him for Christmas, but I didn't, so not yet anyway. So when triggered, it also removes any buff effects on enemy troops. So you've got two that basically do essentially the same thing. and again, critical hit. So you can either, and when triggered removes it, yeah, sorry, just did that one, didn't we? And dodge as well, which is really, really good. So you would have Lucian as your first hitter, and then you would have Caribou as the second, and you would have Morpin as the first and Arabar as the second, same as what I've gone. So you've got your debuffer and then your strong hitter. And don't be fooled, because some of the debuffers also have a critical hit, so you really need to go through those skills and actually read, because most of it is in like the small print writing. And also, not to disadvantage people, but obviously you've got your purple cards as well, and these kind of work the same, but I've noticed a bit of a pattern with these guards, and that is essentially that most of them are really heavy on the damage. I don't know if that's because essentially your stats wouldn't be quite as strong when you have purple guards as to when you have the gold guards. I'm not really sure why they've done it like this, but a lot of these have really, really heavy damage and not a lot of anything else. So we'll just have a look. Again, we'll start with distance. So we've got Yul Sunsin. I'm really sorry if I didn't say that right. See, so he has a critical hit as well, but he also has a bruise effect. So you would probably want to use him first, and then use another one, like Elena or Mulan. So I keep looking down because I've got it written down, because there's so many, I honestly can't remember them all, and I obviously not using purple guards anymore, so I've had to go through and write these down just to kind of help you guys, even though this is stuff that I've looked over and looked over and looked over. Okay, so again, with the purple distance, you've got Planchet. I mean, he's alright. He's not a bad guard. So again, these like extra damage stats, as I said before, but he triggers dodge as well. So you want to be able to dodge your opponent's first lot of attacks. So you would want Planchet and then a heavy hitter, Mulan or Elena. We'll just go down and have a little look at those as well. So Elena. So critical hit here. And dodge as well, so she could work in either position. I think a lot of these can actually be used in either position. There are a few exceptions, which obviously I will go through with you, Kitty being one of them. Okay, so then let's have a little look at infantry, because this one's quite an interesting one. Now, for some weird reason, there actually isn't a lot of infantry guards, and I'm ignoring the two new guards at the moment for a reason. I will go into those afterwards. But essentially all you have got is Inez, Dart, and Henry down here. Henry has a really interesting ability. He has a shielding ability. Okay, so your troops have to have a 50% chance of triggering a shield effect each round. That's pretty good. If you whack the speed up on those, then that will proc more. Absorbs up to 20% damage rate. Increases damage rate by a very, very small amount, lasting up to 4 rounds. Again, quite good. And can be triggered only once every 7 rounds. If your own troops are under an incentive effect, the shield value will be increased. So again, this is one of those guards that you want to use in your first position. So you hit them or they hit you, whatever. Their guards proc. That guard is then going to put a shield up. So when their second guard procs, that protects your troops. And then when your second guard procs, it will put on, what was it? The extra damage rates that you've got in here. Plus whatever your other guard's going to do, which would be, Inez. So Inez, really what you want to be doing is Dart Inez or Henry Inez, sorry. Too many bloody names, it's like a little tongue twister. Yeah, and that's just because of the way that their skills work and such. So basically, Inez here, when triggered, also gives your own troops an incentive effect, reducing the damage. And then, as we saw, Henry, if we go on here, if your troops are under an incentive effect. So they kind of play off each other, and it's the same with Dart and Inez as well. So definitely have a look at those. Right, now let's talk about the new guards. Now, I only have one at the moment. I pulled him yesterday. I was very, very pleased. So I'm not ready to actually put him in yet. You do not need to worry about these guards until you are like a C30 plus. Your account's pretty beefy, and you've got all of your marches there, and you've got a really nice troop count. And the reason being is that these are effectively infantry guards, but they can be used in lots of several different ways as well, because they have all of these other little boosts, which are not just for infantry troops. So you've got the increased guard damage, which is always good. Now, if we go onto here, so these are the appointed effects that you get as you level up your XP, which are obviously really important as well. But if you have a look, so he has really good effects on, you know, that's distance, cavalry, infantry, all troop health, fantastic. March cap, brilliant. Okay, rally cap, brilliant. So these are the guys that you want to be using during KVK, UAC, and all of that sort of thing. So if you watched my last video, you would have seen that basically I've set my marches up so that my distance march, for example, has got infantry in it. My cavalry march has got infantry in it. My infantry march has got cavalry in it. I have another infantry march which has distance in it. They all do different things. They're all for a different purpose, but it is based off of my war books. So we can see here, so I've got my Morpin and my Araba, and then I've got my distance, a tiny bit of infantry, and these distance will be gone tomorrow. Tomorrow's troop day, they will be vamooshed, and then there will be a bigger number up here. So I've only got the 2 tiers, and I'm really hoping to get my infantry troop building as well, so I can start getting some T11s of those. Now, what I will do, not just yet, because my Aramis he's not ready yet. He's still got a bit of brewing and a bit of growing to do. As it is threat day, I have been boshing those out like nobody's business to try and get the XP on those. But essentially what I will do is I will switch out Araba for Aramis, and I will have him in my distance march. And I know that sounds absolutely bonkers because he is an infantry guard, but what he does is universal, and he's a really, really effective. It's got high stats, if you like. We'll just go back and have another little look on him as well. So he removes any negative effects on your own troops and dealing extra damage to enemy troops each round, increasing damage rate. So here, basically, if your troops are under a blessing effect, the skill damage start is increased. So because he fights against an effect, that means that you want him second rather than first. So I just hope that that kind of clears up. Obviously, if you have both of these guards, and as well, just bung them both on, have a look at them both to see if their skills play off of the other ones, because I'm sure that they probably do. What else have we got? So number of remaining troops is higher than 50%. The damage dealt by your own troops is increased. The guard troop damage received is reduced. So again, quite a nice little thing. Reduces guard infantry damage received by 11%. Now, that's really good, although it is only 11%. That's really good for me because my war books are all infantry health and infantry damage, so that will just bolster up what I've done with those and give my infantry guards even more damage, which in turn will protect my distance troops. Okay, and then obviously you have grants your infantry the block effect, blocking 20% damage received and increase in survivability and coordination with other units when both attacking and defending. So this is a really, really good guard for putting in towers and in rallies, especially if you guys can work on those distance infantry, cav infantry ratios. If you can systematically get the same amount of troops from every single person in those towers or in a rally, you're just going to absolutely eat through just about anything. We're going to test this out this UAC, so that will be very interesting. Hopefully I'll have some good stuff to show you on that. Right, lots of people have asked me if these new guards should be put on the wall. The simple answer is yes, they can be. No, you shouldn't. To put them on the wall is just an absolute waste. They're like a beef eater war guard. They need to be used for UAC, Blood Wars, Kingdom Raid, KVK, places where you're going to be going in buildings and coming out of buildings, situations where you're going to be getting hit. Really, really important sort of guard there. Or guards. Okay, so whilst we mention the wall guards, I will obviously just speak to you about those as well. So lots of people ask me, what wall guards should you have on your wall? Again, there's a very simple answer. Your wall guards. That's literally why you have them. It's really important that you have your wall guards on there. If you do not have the wall guards yet, because it's early days, or if you only have one, what you want to do, so I'll start with the first one. So if you don't have any, you want to find 2 guards that work the same way as I've just been discussing. So you want a debuffer and then your big hitter in there. And preferably you want one that has lots of speed and one that has a dodge ability and a damage either reduction or increase, either way. So there's lots of guards that do all of those things. If you only have one of these guards, put it in the first place, and then in the second one you need to put, like I just said, one with dodge or some sort of damage boost, damage effects. So I hope that helps. The reason why you want a fast guard is because you want it to proc before your enemies, so speed is really important with wall guards. And a reason why dodge is obviously good is because you're more likely to save extra troops in your castle if you have that dodge ability. And obviously damage reduction speaks for itself. Okay, so let's have a little look at cavalry. I'll show you what I've got. So I've got Milady and Jacob in there. So cavalry is a little bit different. So on the S guards, essentially you've got 2 sets of guards that work together. So they're literally meant to be together and meant to be in a particular order. So the first one that you've got is Anne and Gaston. So if I click on Anne, have a look in here, she emits the poison effect, which is your debuffer. And then if we go in and have a look at Gaston, there we go. So if your enemy troops are under defaction or poison effect, the enemy guard skill damage is reduced by X amount. So he's your heavy hitter that plays off of her skills, essentially. So you want those 2 together. And then on the other side of it, we have got Milady, who emits the bleeding effect to enemy troops each round, dealing continuous damage for 2 rounds. And then we have a little look at Jacob. When triggered, not that one. Not that one. Here we are. If the enemy troops are under a bleeding effect, it will have a deterrent effect on the enemy guard, who will be prohibited from using active skills for 2 rounds. So that's really good, but it literally shows you that those 2 pairs of guards need to go together. You need your debuffer first, and then your hitter second. Right, and then again, not to leave anybody out, we'll just have a look at the purple cav as well. So Kitty, she has poison effect, so she's a debuffer. You would partner her up with somebody like Travell over here, who has crit hits. He also causes defection effect on enemy troops, so he could potentially go in either or, but I would probably put him second. I wouldn't use him as a debuffer, even though he does have a debuffing skill. So if the target bears the defection effect, your guard skill damage is increased. So if he uses that skill, your damage goes up as well. So that's pretty good, right? You want a lot of speed on that one if you want it to be proccing lots. Okay, and then we've got Renee. Where are you, Renee? Here he is. He looks so angry. Have a look at Renee. So he has a bruising effect. So again, you would use him with like Travell or Benoit. There's a couple of others as well. So really go through and just have a look. So you've got Dominique, she's a debuffer as well. Reduces enemy guard intelligence. So you want her to go on the first round rather than the second round, because then it will make their second round less effective. Okay. So, no matter what guard you have, or what guard you have opened at the time, just remember to put in the debuffer first, and then your heavy hitter. This seems to be working the best for me. My guards are getting so many more kills. Sadly, I can't see how many more anymore, but you can click on your report and see how many times they've procced. That's mentioned in another one of my videos, and it shows you how to do that. So if you're not sure, go back and have a look. I think it is in things that you might have not known, or something like that. My brain can't think, it's too late at night and I'm on the Red Bull. So yes, go back and have a look at that video if you're not sure. How to check how many times your guards have used their abilities. And obviously there is more to it than just the actual guards and the abilities. You want to make sure that you have got the same guard type as your troops, with exception to those new infantry guards. Do not use anything else on your wall other than wall guards, apart from what I spoke about earlier. But also, you want to be just hitting threats 24/7 to get this XP, because this increases your march capacity. Again, that is really, really important. You can have a look at what your appointed effects are by going on to this little like sheriff's badge, and it will tell you what buffs they have when they are appointed. That might help you choose which ones you want appointed, because obviously they are the extra effects that you get on top of everything else that the guards already do. So that's always very, very nice to have, essentially an extra little bit of buffing. And another thing is these attribute points. Always put them on the recommended. That's very, very important. It's recommended for a reason. Please play with spreading them out a tiny little bit, because there might be little things that do really, really make a difference, and speed certainly seems to be one of those. What I'm seeing at the moment is the faster the guard, the more chances it's having of using those skills. So I think that that's really, really important. If you, for example, like with my Aramis, he's obviously not very strong at all because he's new. He's like a little fresh-faced baby. So if you have a look at my skills, they're pretty even in speed and in strength, because essentially, because he's not very strong, I want him to be using his skills twice as often, if that's possible. But from the testing that I've done and things like that, certainly looks like it is. I'm going to carry on doing that anyway. UAC will be a big tell because I am quite prone to dying. So we'll see what happens there, and also get to have a look and see how my guards are sort of behaving in different situations. So really, really interesting. I will be filming that as been asked by several other people. So yes, we will have a UAC video out probably on Monday or Tuesday, which will be really nice. And before then, thank you so much for watching, guys. I really, really appreciate all of your support. My subs have gone up quite a lot, so I hope that you're enjoying my content. I know sometimes the sound can be a bit dodgy, or my picture might be a bit dodgy. Unfortunately, technical problems happen quite a lot. So it's just one of those things that I just have to make do with, but I do try and give you guys the best that I can possibly do. I hope that this guard video has shed a little bit of light for some people, especially with the debuffing. Because I think sometimes those particular guards are overlooked because they don't have the damage stats and the crit hits. So just have a look at those, try and use some of those and try and incorporate it. I think if you take a look at the Cavalry and those S-guards and those two pairings, it's almost obvious that those guards are actually supposed to be used together. And using that as a benchmark and as a format is basically how I am basing what I have built up on. And also looking at Inez and Dart and things like that, it certainly appears as though you need a combination of a debuffer and then a really, really strong guard. And by strong, I mean like the crit hits and the damage reductions and all of that sort of thing. Any that have any extra attack or anything like that. Really, really good stuff. So hopefully you guys will have an amazing weekend and a very happy new year to you all. Take care. Don't forget to subscribe.